Alright YouTube, it's time for the Occult Video 81. Orgone, cloud busting, Morgellons disease, some of this other stupid stuff, let's face it. Of course, link in the description to my books blog. And I will say this. When you study the occult, you have to separate that which is coherent, that which makes sense, that which is theologically or philosophically possible. From stuff that deep inside I think most of us know is not the case. I have seen strange supernatural phenomena. I have seen what most people would generally call a ghost. I have seen what most people would generally consider a UFO, or an unexplained sighting in the sky. I don't necessarily say aliens, of course. I have seen what most people would consider a demon. I have received strange messages from, you could say, another cosmos, another dimension, whatever it happens to be. Although I put more of a psychological importance on it than I do a spiritual one for that. I have seen many strange things in my life. But nothing that I've seen has convinced me that taking a piece of resin and melting some metal shavings into it cures some evil Illuminati mind control. Nothing that I have seen within the realm of the mystic, nor anything that I've studied, nor anything that I've encountered, nor anything that I've even theorized about, has ever convinced me that holding said piece of resin filled with metal shavings up the sky causes clouds to suddenly disappear so you can keep the government from raining down petrochemicals on your land, thus destroying your GMO crops and calcifying your pineal gland. I've pointed out before, and this bears, because of the title of this video, it's my assumption that at least a small number of people that are into these subjects and do believe in them will see this video. Please read Occultism for Beginners. I've offered an edition of this, but you can get a crappier edition, but you can get it for free as a PDF if you don't want to support somebody who clearly doesn't share your views, by Dower. Please get it, and please read through it till I think it's about halfway through. It talks openly. Long before fluoridation of water or cloud seeding or any of these things was available. We're talking the interwar period, early interwar period when this was written. Actually, I think it was written before World War I. We didn't even really have mechanized militaries at the time. There was technology back then, was binoculars or stupendous or something like that. If you read it, it will talk about the calcification of the pineal gland and how it's known to science. That in Dower's mind, as a theosophist, it certainly, according to him, has a spiritual meaning, specifically the suppression of certain psychic impulses. But it was known to be natural. Nobody ascribed it to fluoridation because it would be another 3 decades before fluoridation was ever used, in any sense, let alone in the public sphere. It's not ascribed to cloud seeding. The concept didn't exist back then. They were still using wooden framed triplanes in combat at the time. You hadn't even seen like the development of modern mechanized warfare. People still rode horses more than they drove cars around at the time. So you can get that one out of your minds because it was already known to fringe spiritual, sort of at the time New Agey Atlantean literature over 100 years ago. As far as Orgone goes, no, this energy field that you're talking about presumably could, in some theoretical form, exist, I will say. I believe in string theory. I believe that there are interactions that occur upon this level of existence, this universe, which I, by the way, believe to be infinite in scope. I don't believe in the limited universe sort of bullshit that some people peddle. I do believe in that. But it has nothing to do with your little pieces of resin and metal shavings. It just doesn't. That doesn't do anything. It's like the concept of building a structure in the form of a pyramid and going in and saying, oh, it relieves headaches, it cures cancer, it does all that. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. What it does is give people a placebo effect because it's been suggested. It's a form of mesmerism. It's been suggested to people that can happen. Therefore, they manifest it psychologically. Now, I'm not discounting the importance of the placebo effect. I've said before, with the exception of viruses and certain types of cancer, a placebo is going to treat you just as well as any pharmaceutical. And herbal medicine will probably treat you better than both in many of these cases. You got a regular routine bacterial infection, you're feeling under the weather, you feel run down, you feel ragged or whatever, yeah, take whatever you want that you trust in, because ultimately, it's probably going to work just as well as what the doctor would prescribe to you. That's the honest truth. It will, honestly, all things considered. As far as Morgellons, the general mainstream explanation is that it's a nervous disorder. That people that are convinced, that not hypochondriacs necessarily, but they've somehow psychologically become convinced that they've got some sort of disease. They start picking at themselves, and what they're seeing, these little hairs that they claim are growing out of their body, are actually, nerve roots or weird hairs, ingrown hairs or whatever. I'm tempted to believe that explanation, generally speaking, but I point out something else. People do get skin conditions and sicknesses and so forth, even if they are in tip-top shape, taking their herbal supplements, avoiding what they consider to be pharmaceutical or chemical sort of compounds. You are still going to eventually, in the span of time, you will have a breakout. You will have an itchy rash. You will feel lightheaded, or you will have a headache. It's going to happen. There's no prescription that anybody in this world can write for you that is going to keep you in perfect health all of the time. The problem is, because Morgellons may be a sort of mild psychosis in which a person has come to be, again, in a way, mesmerized into believing that they've contracted some government-manufactured illness, and because they've become paranoid from that, it's almost impossible to actually talk to them about the subject, because what they say is that anybody who denies the existence of this disease that was manufactured by sort of paranoid conspiracy theories is in bed with the government somehow. Now, I like conspiracy theories, and in many cases I believe in them. I don't think Oswald shot JFK. I believe in extraterrestrials. I think it's stupid not to. I believe that the government does attempt to exert weather control. Again, whether or not they're successful, generally speaking, is a different story. I do believe that there are groups in this world attempting to depopulate regions of the world. These are all common sense things. Of course it's going on. That being said, there's no actual evidence. They perform test after test after test on these Morgellons patients. They can never find anything. Now, everyone eventually is going to have that weird mutated hair follicle that grows a weird hair. It gets ingrown, or it's too thick, or it's a weird color. It gets itchy, it gets infected or something, and then they think they have Morgellons. Then they pick at it and the disease spreads. If it's like a bacterial infection, they're getting it all over themselves. Maybe it spreads to other follicles, and it becomes a chronic condition. That being said, I don't believe that there is such an actual disease. I think it is generally a nervous disorder. Not always. Some people, they may have some other rare skin condition, not Morgellons, but something more exotic that, mainstream hospitals, they wouldn't be testing for it. Maybe we've got diseases in the northern hemisphere that aren't common but do occasionally appear in sporadic patches that do cause weird things. These people often appear to be the same folks that worry about chemtrails, which I've explained before as well. They're simply jet contours. I don't believe the government is spraying you with chemicals, because there's no reason for the government to spray you with chemicals. There's not. It's like when people talk about, oh, the government's spying on me through my toaster or something like that. You carry your smartphone around, of course you're being spied on. Every text you send, you're constantly being geolocated by a company. All of that is on record, and because of the Band-Aid they put on the NSA spying, the government can look at where you've been at any given time in the last 6 months or so. Easily. It doesn't even require a court order at this point. The government's acting well beyond its constitutional authority. You have to be living in the middle of the steppe of Mongolia or someplace like that in order not to be constantly monitored. You carry your phone around, yeah, you're being monitored. At all times. Just assume it. Keep your phone off, by the way. It's a good thing to do. Or get some technology in there that keeps them from tracking you constantly. Oh, wait, your GPS no longer works. Sorry about that. See, here's the problem. Yeah, the world is screwed up. It's a screwed up place. It is unhealthy. People eat unhealthy things. We fight unhealthy wars. People are fucking stupid most of the time. The voting population, at least a large minority of the voting population's dumb. That shows why Hillary Clinton has so much support. But at the same time, that doesn't possess me to believe that Orgone and cloud busting and Morgellons are real. As far as cloud busting goes, there's different like prescriptions. Some dude built like a giant pyramid, and he claims that it can siphon water up out of the ground through differential pressure or something. Like, not sure that's exactly how it works, because I don't see water gushing up around the Great Pyramid at all, but maybe, okay, maybe you develop some new suction method. You should fucking patent it. Don't do it with a U.S. patent, do a Swiss patent, because then the U.S. government can't come and say, oh, well, it's military technology now, here's $10. It's a good idea as well. But, now, you don't need to be on the government's payroll. That's the real kicker, is that people that are completely decentralized and not getting paid to do what they do, they have no association with government. In many cases, some of these people are like fucking anarchists. They even hate the idea of government. Or somebody like me, I'm a libertarian or a classic liberal. They will say that I'm being like paid to shill these things. There are plenty of paid shills on the internet. I'm not one of them. I wish that I could get lots of money for some political purpose. It'd make my life a lot easier. I'm just joking. I wouldn't take their money, but, you know, the general principle stands. A lot of people would. And there are people that get like $1,000 a month to shill for Hillary Clinton. They released Judicial Watch, I think it was, got a hold of some sheets of their like names and the amounts they had been paid. And we're talking enormous amounts on sort of their top shitposter list. Oh my God! So one person had like $2,300 in a month just from posting a bunch of bullshit online. Can you fucking imagine? So 4chan's trying to actively infiltrate them. Don't know if it'll work. Hopefully it does. Hopefully they can sabotage it from the inside. They use that CIA simple sabotage manual against Correct the Record or something like that. But yeah, I don't believe in these things. They're not occultism. That's another thing. Within this occult playlist, which you may have accessed if you're not just looking at this video as a subscriber, in some cases I have to dispel the idea that there is a spiritual or occult or cultic or conspiratorial view to some of these subjects, like the concept of like TV psychics. They're not occultists. They have no powers. They're charlatans. They're business people that prey on others in times of loss, generally speaking, or they prey on others' hopes and dreams. That doesn't mean that it can't be in the occult playlist, though, because somebody who actually is knowledgeable about these things, who understands the occult, who understands the spiritual, needs to point out what they actually are. It's like fucking televangelists or something. Average televangelist isn't even religious. It'd be nice if more Christians would point that fact out and decry them and point out specifically why they're wrong. Well, I can do that. I can't do that maybe for televangelists, but I can do that for paganism and Satanism and the occult and things like that. That's about all. Peace out.